You're listening to My Comic Life on the My Comic Life Podcast Network. Welcome back to My Comic Life, folks. We are so thrilled you're joining us for another great My Comic Life episode. As you know, we are your one-stop podcast for all things geek, nerd, movie, video games, pop culture. If you're into that, stop. You have found the podcast for you. Joining me each week in the My Comic Life studio, folks, he dropped a huge bomb on me tonight. I did not know this. We're talking to the man here, the engineer who built the 5 Voltron Lions. Alex, how could you not tell me this beforehand, man? Also, why did you choose lions? Why couldn't it have been like 5 dolphins, defending the universe? I am blown away by this. Folks, again, Alex, who joins me each week in the studio, engineer of the 5 Voltron Lions. Say hi to the folks there, Alex.
Well, lions were the obvious choice. I mean, I just got done watching The Lion King, and it was fresh on the brain. Maybe if I had got done watching Flipper, it would have been dolphins, like you had asked, my guy. I'm very happy to be here in studio, joining you guys this week. No MCU episodic, show to go over. I think we're kind of in this little lull period right here, but we managed to put together a absolute banger of a show for you guys today, and I can't wait to get into it. Sam, would you please, this is a brand new type of frontier for us on this first segment. Please take us into it.
All right, we are starting off on the video game side of things, a subject that is sometimes missed on this show, but not this week. Starting off on the video game side of things, at E3 this year, Marvel Entertainment revealed that it had teamed up with gaming developer Square Enix to produce a game based on the popular Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. Players will take up the role as Peter Quill / Star-Lord and fight alongside their companions Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot in a single-player story-driven adventure. But it wouldn't be Guardians of the Galaxy without the humor, and as the tagline reads, become Star-Lord, lead the Guardians of the Galaxy, save the universe. You got this. Probably. Alex, did you catch this trailer, and are you interested in this game?
So I did watch the trailer. This was something that had kind of flown under the radar for me. I'm not really that much of a superhero kind of video games. I got my Call of Duty, and that's pretty much all that I play. I don't know why, but because the game is in such a bad state. But I did catch this trailer. I think this is the 17th or 18th time I've heard that damn Hero song in the last month or so. It was with He-Man, it was with this. I think there was one more I'm forgetting. I just can't remember where it was. But I thought that this trailer was very well put together. I did notice that the voice actors were different but kind of the same, and you do get your opportunity to become Troy Baker. Oh no, I mean Star-Lord. And so I'm I got my ears perked up on this, but what about you, Sam? Are you, is this something that you're going to be taking a look at?
Oh, definitely. I love all kinds of games, first-person shooters, role-playing, sports, you name it, I'm into it, I play it. I initially missed this trailer at E3, but watched it, right before the show began. You can definitely see the James Gunn MCU touch on this game, but it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like it really captures the spirit of the Guardians of the Galaxy, or at least the James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy. The Milano looks great. Looks like you get to fly that in a few levels, and I'm excited about that. And who wouldn't want to play, Peter Quill, Star-Lord? I mean, that's just going to be a blast. I'm glad that it is a single-player story driven adventure. Sometimes, I think games today sometimes try to, pull in too much multiplayer online. And certain games just lend themselves better to single-player storylines, and it's looking like this one is definitely going to be that way. So yeah, so no, definitely excited. Definitely will be trying to catch this one on my PS5 when and if I ever get one. um, Alex, so I gotta ask you, do you like the subtle redesigns of some of the major players? How do they look? How do they look to you?
I do. I think Gamora looks amazing. I don't really like how Drax looks. Groot, is he's basically the same, and Rocket is basically the same. Star Lord is a little bit. I guess I would say he's more kind of like Johnny Everyman is the way he looks. He looks like just like your average kind of NPC, which is very weird. I understand why they can't do the likenesses of Chris Pratt or Zoe Saldana, David Bautista, you know. But I like their character designs. But I'm a huge fan of the old Star Lord uniform, the one where he has the big bucket helmet and it's
Oh yeah,
blue and
yeah.
it has what I'm talking about, that really slick
Oh
one
yeah.
that he used to wear. And I know that that is kind of if you pre-order the game, I think those uh, you get those kind of costumes unlocked. But that's to me. I just always loved the old school Star Lord costume. I liked it better than Chris Pratt's costume. I like it better than this costume, even though this one really heavily favors the MCU costume. But as far as the other people go, I really like the way that Gamora looks. And like I said, Drax is just kind of weird to me. I wish they would have stayed closer to either the old school Drax with the big cape, or the MCU Drax, which Dave Bautista is plays flawlessly. But how about you, Sam? Are you liking these redesigns, these very subtle redesigns that they did of these major players?
Yeah, man. They're not bad. I if there is like a downloadable skin of course I would like you I kind of like the older classic Peter Quill Star Wars look, but I also totally dig the red leather jacket. Um, yeah, like I said, Drax looks okay. He looks a little bit more comic book based than James Gunn's movie based with like the like red tattoos on him.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Quill, I sort of get like a poor man's Mark Paul Gosselaar who was Zack from Saved by the Bell look. I mean, like that's that's what I'm getting. If yeah, you say Johnny every man, and I say yeah, no, he looks like a like Zack's stunt double from Saved by the Bell. Gamora looks cool. Gamora, I like her. I like her with the body armor on. She looks badass. Um, I kind of like Rocket with the chin beard. That's kind of funny to see. They made they made Groot look really cool. I mean, Groot's wearing armor, and I've never seen Groot wear armor before, but that just makes him look more formidable and badass. Uh, like disagree with you here. I don't hate on Drax's look so much. The green and the red play well off each other, and I still think he looks kind of badass. But the green and red is kind of how he looks in like the modern iteration of the comics. So
Oh man,
um,
I just can't do it, man. He looks like the toxic Avenger, man. Like I just can't do it.
all right, well, let me ask you this: are you interested in Marvel video games, and do you think they should be canon at all?
Let's see, Marvel video games. I did not play the Avengers game. I guess I didn't really miss out on much because a lot of people had a lot of problems with that game. I did watch a couple of Let's Plays of it, and it seemed very underwhelming. But um, like I like Lego Marvel games. Those are fire. I'll play those, and some Marvel games are cool. Of course, the old school X-Men arcade game that's a banger, and all the Marvel versus Capcom series, that whole thing. But as far as do I think that they should be canon? Yeah, I think that would be kind of cool. That'd be a really neat way to tell some of the stories that are behind the scenes, and they could kind of fill a lot of gaps using these video games. And leaving it up to the players. That's something that I think that Marvel should explore, and even DC. DC could explore that too. Um, and I think that the fans would absolutely love it. What about you, Sam? Do you think that there's any kind of room for these the video games to fill these gaps between Marvel movies?
Well, first off, I gotta say, like you, I was a huge Marvel video game fan back in the day. Fed many a quarter into that Marvel X Men arcade game, and I used to play the shit out of the Marvel X Men Sega games. Love the Marvel Spider Man games. I mean, like all the ones from like PS1 onward to like the Tobey
Oh man.
Maguire Marvel Spider Man movie games to like the spectacular PS4 Spider-Man game that they came out with. I haven't had a chance to play the Miles Morales Spider-Man game for the PS5 yet, but oh my gosh, it's the number one game on my list. Wondering if I can ever get a PS5. Do I think they should be canon? No, but if you wanted to create like a Marvel video game universe, where like the Avengers game, like, like can somehow like impact like, the Guardians of the Galaxy game or like the Spider-Man game, like impacts like the Avengers game, sure, that could be fun, that could be cool. That could be fun to see. The only time that I'd be okay with like filling in the gaps, and they used to do this with the Spider-Man movie video games for like PS1 and PS2, is that they would throw some like side missions in there where it's like you would fight like the Rhino or like some other, or like Craven the Hunter, and then and like Spider-Man 2, you might get like a little subtle wink and nod like to that mission like from the video game on screen. But so far as using video games to like fill in time, the only thing I'm worried about is that they might make some reference to it in like a TV show or like on the big screen, and people who don't play video games or don't have access to like play video games, like they would be missing out on something. So that's the only drawback to me for making these like sort of like canon. Like I said, if you just want to create your own Marvel video game universe, I'm totally down with that. I'm totally fine with that. If you want some of the movie video games to fill in some stuff, maybe. But I mean, like huge like chunks of like like Bucky or like Falcon's like story being told through video games. The only reason I'm against this is just because I'm afraid people would be missing out. And I want everyone to be able to get the full Marvel experience.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense the way that you say it. I mean, I guess maybe I do watch a lot of Let's Plays and stuff, so maybe I wasn't really thinking of the people that don't really tune into that kind of stuff. But you make a very valid point. I do agree with that right there. But going back to this Guardians of the Galaxy video game, I guess you'll be kind of like you won't be able to switch characters or something.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it's known that players will be locked into the role of Star Lord, and the other members of the Guardians of the Galaxy will be AI controlled partners. Now, players cannot directly play as the other members, but they can issue commands to them during combat. And each character has their own unique skills and abilities, which can be chained together to inflict more damage. Uh, do you think the addition of multiplayer or cooperative gameplay would have helped or hindered the end result there, Alex?
Oh man, the I think it would have helped. I'm a huge fan of being able to co-op, even couch co-op. Like I'm even more so a fan of couch co-op. Like, hey, you got a buddy, come on over and let's play some Guardians of the Galaxy. Because it does remind you of like the old days of video games back when you'd have your homies come over and you guys would be playing four-player split GoldenEye or Mario Kart or anything along those lines, and it was a big deal back then, and it's such a huge part of my childhood that I wish that they would kind of wouldn't go away from that, wouldn't focus so much on everybody having their own console and playing online. So I and even doing that in this game, I guess it seems a, is not possible. This is just a single player game, and like you said, it's very story driven. So, um, do I think it makes for good storytelling to focus on just one character? Yes, but but what happens after you're done playing the story? You're just gonna shelve the game after that. You're not gonna play it through again because you're just gonna get the same story over and over again. And I think that's where the game is going to lack kind of that replayability that a lot of games are you know trying to focus on, um, in order to have a longer longevity in this competitive video game world. But what about you, Sam? I pose the same question to you. Do you think that the addition of this cooperative or multiplayer gameplay would have helped this game, or do you think it would have hurt this game?
Well, man, at first you had me arguing, saying, no, this has to be a single player storyline. But now you convinced me. You changed my mind, Alex. It would have been great to come home from work and like text you and be like, dude, Guardians tonight? And you're like, yeah, man. And we could have gotten on and, you know, played as the various Guardians of the Galaxy, trying out different players, tactics and special abilities. Like that would have been really, really fun to explore. So no, I think they should have made it a co-op, like a player can like jump in or like you can have like a shared save game, and then like,
Mm-hmm.
if we could both play, yes, that's fine. But if we couldn't, like you could still advance the game with an all AI team, and then like somebody else could like jump back in at like a later date and time. Um, yeah, that
So
would have made this.
I have
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
question to ask you. Finish your statement. But if you had the choice, would you select a different person to play the story through the first time?
Just I probably would have stuck with Star Lord just because like he's kind of like the most, at least to me, like the most like relatable character, to me. But I mean, uh, second time through easily would have been Drax or Gamora. Third time through would have been Rocket, and fourth time through would have been Groot. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, no, I definitely think there should have been like definitely a multiplayer aspect to this. But Alex, if you could play as any of the Guardians, who would you want to be
Oh, see,
or play as?
I'm the opposite. I probably would have been Groot my first and only time through, just because I'm kind of like I'm a little weird when it comes to it. I don't really give a damn about the story. Just give me the gun and tell me who to shoot is kind of what where I'm at. I've skipped so many cutscenes and been confused by so many games as a result of it. But I've still had, my fun. And I think it would just be really funny to play as Groot and have your dialogue selection just be nothing like four different I am Groots in like four different tones. I think that would be hilarious. So that would definitely be my one and only playthrough is Groot. But I guess that Eidos selected Star Lord for it had to have been for a reason, right, Sam?
Yeah, yeah. Star Lord was chosen as the game's lead character because he is the quote unquote human heart of the Guardians and the member that developer Eidos Montreal most identify with. The team decided against adding multiplayer modes as they felt the Guardians of the Galaxy are a colorful group of personalities and the player can better experience the dynamics of the team by having these unpredictable characters react to Star Lord's choices. Now, at various points in the game, the player can make key decisions via dialogue trees that will affect relationships between the Guardians and the outcomes of certain missions through and affect the outcome of certain missions. Now, throughout the game, Star Lord's decisions will be referenced by his teammates. But despite the branching dialogue path, the core story remains, and the same game only has one ending. Uh, it's well known that single player story driven superhero games like the Insomniac Studios Spider Man franchise and the Rocksteady Studios super popular Batman Arkham series are all very well received by critics and players alike. Do you think that was a correct choice for the studio, Alex?
I honestly don't, because this is kind of like a group. The Guardians are a very eclectic type of group, and I think it just came down to money. Is if you want my, they can bullshit with all these different little lip services of like, oh, Star Lord is the human heart, and we're most relatable to him and stuff. But I think it just came down to money, and they just probably ran out of money because it's kind of like having like a Suicide Squad game, but you're only able to play as like Rick Flag, and it just hurts. It hurts the game, and I think it is going to go against this game ultimately. But that's just personally what that's how it came off to me. But do you think this was the correct choice for Eidos Studio, or would you have liked them to kind of sink a little bit more money into this and kind of flesh it out a little bit more?
I was sold on the single player Star Lord thing, and I still am a little bit. But this last bit here, that says, like despite the branching dialogue past the core story remains the same, and the game only has one ending. That means that you really can't screw up this game. You're still going to get the good guy happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to have branching dialogue trees in the game, it should possibly lead to like I'm not saying like I need 20 different endings to a game, but at least three or four, just to know that like
Right.
my decisions had like some impact and really did change, like the overall outcome of the game. So yeah, I think um, Idios or Idios should have sank a little bit more money and made some of the other Guardians playable characters. Uh, and yeah, you should have had more, possibly more than one ending for this game. But am I still excited by what I saw in the trailer? Yes, yes, I am. But let me
Oh,
pitch this.
absolutely. I mean, how can you not be? But so you had previously alluded to the Spider-Man franchise, which is absolutely amazing, and the Arkham series, which is a ton of fun and a very large game. Uh, so to you, what's the best superhero hero based video game you have ever played?
Oh man, you put me on the spot here. Um, Damn, it's almost a dead lock tie between the Batman Arkham series and the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game. Uh, both those games, just man, like they really pull you into that world of Batman and Spider-Man, and I mean, you really do feel like you are those heroes. I mean, just the amount of immersion, the amount of detail that goes into those games was fucking amazing. I love them both. I've gone back and replayed them multiple times and found new things every time when I'm playing them, and they're just a blast to play. Whether you're like webbing up six guys as Spider-Man, like whipping one around your head lasso style, or like you're pulling off like 100 hit combo in
Mm.
Batman Arkham Asylum. I mean, oh my gosh, it's just so much fun. So yeah, I really can't decide, but between those two. So yeah, Rocksteady's Batman Arkham series, or yeah, like the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game. Both those just top notch. Alex, what about you? What is the best superhero video game you've ever played?
Oh man, I think for me I probably sunk the most amount of hours into. It would have to be either Marvel versus Capcom 2, which was the one I think it had like 60 something fighters in it, and it was fun because you make teams of three, and you could have these really kind of like kick-ass combinations of people. And I promise you, dude, you don't want any of the smoke with my trio. Like you, I don't even think like I challenge to all you listeners out there. We can mix it up if you want. If you want to go running home crying to your mother, absolutely, I will send you that way. Anyway, so it's got to be a tie between Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and I really like the Lego Batman games. They're kind of really fun, and I have a lot of fun with my kids playing them. So any of the
Oh,
Lego games, actually, like Lego Avengers, Lego Batman, all that Lego DC Heroes, Any of them are a ton of fun, and they and again, like we were talking replayability. Those Lego games have them in spades. So that's those are my two personally.
Wow. All right, well, wrapping this segment up, let me ask you one last question here. The question on everybody's mind, of course, will you be picking this game up when it comes out?
Absolutely not. I
Ha!
am. I am. I just. There's just not enough here for me, especially to justify. I believe if you get it on PlayStation 5 or any system besides the previous generation, I believe it's going to be $70. So I can't justify $70 on a game that I would probably play through just once, no multiplayer or anything like that to kind of keep you coming back to the game. This will definitely be one where I will tune out on YouTube and I will watch some of my favorite streamers probably um, do a let's play with the game, and that'll be that right there. But what about you, Sam? Are you going to be picking this game up?
Probably not day one. I'm gonna see what the reviewers say. I'll be watching some of my favorite YouTube streamers as well, see how they react to it. Maybe if it goes on the sale, like on the PlayStation Store, and gets like marked down to like $30. Yes, unless you know, like I said, like right out of the box, everyone's like 10 out of 10 game of the year. Must play.
Right.
Then yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna sit back and like you, read the reviews and watch some of my favorite streamers play through it first before I pick this one up. But hey, if you want to pick this game up, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is set to be released for Windows, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S on October 26th of this year. Whew. All right. Moving on. We're going to do a little different segment here. We're going to get into the spicier side of my comic life, the salacious side, the triggering side of my comic life. Whoa, 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 wait! We're not talking about the My Comic Life only fans page. There, people, calm down, calm down. No, we are going with a new segment here called Agree or Disagree. Now, while we wait for a new episodic adventure to take over the third slot of our weekly My Comic Life podcast, we thought we would try out a new segment here where we discuss some of the most controversial takes from different comic related industries. This week, we will focus on some of the most highly debated statements in relation to Marvel movies. This means any and all Marvel related films from Blade to Black Widow. Alex, are you
Okay. All right.
are you ready
I'm.
for
I'm.
this?
Yes, I'm absolutely 100% ready for this. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I have assembled a list of some very controversial statements. Sam, I also have a list of the films based on Marvel Comics publications. If you wanted to go ahead and pull that up, just so that way you'll know kind of where how far we span when it comes to this category. So how it's going to work, folks. First, I'm going to ask Sam to read off all of the controversial takes, and after that, we will flip a coin, and the person who wins the coin flip will get to pick their take first and give their if they agree or disagree, and the other person will have to argue the other side briefly, but in good faith, and before picking their topic to agree or disagree from. Get it? Got it? Good. Sam, would you please read off these very controversial takes that we were able to assemble from all over this toxic place called the internet?
I was about to say, man, these controversial statements do not reflect the views of My Comic Life. I'm not going to read the legal preamble there, but yeah, here we go. The best Marvel movie isn't even in the MCU. Infinity War was better than Endgame. Josh Whedon ruined the MCU. Wolverine is the best character in the Marvel movies. They wasted Ultron. Terrence Howard was a better war machine than Don Cheadle. The Iron Man movies are carried by the supporting actors. The Fantastic Four are boring. Miles
That's a good one.
Morales is a better Peter Parker than Peter Parker. Thor, Odin's son, is only interesting when he doesn't have Mjolnir. 80s Punk Storm is the best Storm. Doom would have been a better fit to lead the Avengers against Thanos. And finally, Kevin Feige destroyed the greater MCU. Wow.
All right.
Yeah, man, just reading.
I'm going to give you folks out there, I'm going to give you a second. If you need to, go back over the list. We will provide a copy for you in the comments below. Sam, would you call heads or tails, please? I'm flipping the coin now.
Heads, sir.
It is heads. Sam, you may take us into this with your first pick on agree or disagree.
I'm going to go with the best Marvel movie isn't even in the MCU. Disagree. The MCU has a plethora of amazing movies. To me, I mean, like, it's so hard to even pick, the best Marvel movies out there. I mean, there's just like almost too many to choose from. Um, but I mean, some that would come to mind, of course, Thor Ragnarok and Avengers Endgame, man. I mean, like the whole culmination of what the MCU had been building towards. That was, I mean, the payoff to me was perfect. I loved that film from start to finish. I laughed, I cried. Yeah, so no, I think no, I think the best Marvel movie or Marvel movies are in the MCU. I mean, come on, man. Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, Iron Man, like I already said, Thor Ragnarok, uh, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, man, Spider-Man Homecoming. All these spectacular films came from the MCU, but for this purpose, I'll kind of narrow it down, like I said, between Thor Ragnarok or Avengers Endgame. So, yes, the best Marvel movies are in the MCU. Alex, I dare you to prove me wrong.
Okay. Now, again, this doesn't reflect my uh, my my outlook or my viewpoint on this. I am supposed to argue against this, ladies and gentlemen. Please do not rip me apart in the comments. Okay. I will disagree. I don't believe that the best Marvel movie is even in the MCU, and my evidence will probably be Enter the Spider Verse, which I think is probably the best Spider-Man movie that we've ever had. And a very close second would be Spider-Man 2 from Columbia Pictures way back in 2004. The Tobey Maguire one had nothing to do with the MCU. Is not canon in the MCU so far. I have heard the rumors on this next Spider-Man movie, but that is also a fantastic Spider-Man movie, and those are better than any Spider-Man movie that we've gotten from the MCU so far. You've also got the, you know, X2 was amazing. It was pretty good. I don't care for Brian, whatever the hell his name is, but
Brian Singer.
Brian Singer. He's kind of. You want to talk about super toxic right now? A line that I'm not about to cross. However, X2 was, it was phenomenal. You've got all the Blade movies, all these, Blade basically started the MCU. So I will say that is my evidence. Not to mention, I am a huge fan of the Incredible Hulk, and we haven't even gotten one of those movies in the MCU. Now, I think that's because of legal issues and whatnot. But however, it's still no excuse to me. And also, Logan, boom, mic drop. I mean, absolutely fantastic movie. I was completely awestruck watching that movie, and Deadpool. You've got your R-rated movies that are Marvel adjacent, but are not necessarily in the MCU. So that is my evidence for it. Folks at home, I know you agree with me, so just go ahead, together with me and will rip Sam apart in the comments. Absolutely. So, that being said, my agree or disagree, I will pick. I think. Oh man, all of these are so good. I kind of want to screw you here and go with the '80s punk storm, but I think I'm going instead. Joss Whedon ruined the MCU, and I will agree with that statement. And let me tell you why. This is the MCU was going great until the very first Avengers movie, and that's when you started to get this. Yeah, it's action packed, but at the same time, it's it's like comedic to the point where it's unbelievable almost. It's something where the Hulk will um, we'll finally watch him change in that Avengers movie, and he'll hit that giant weird flying Chitari kind of tank thing, and like Black Widow will look at the camera and be like, "Well, that went well," and I feel like that's where that bullshit started, and ever since, because that first Avengers was so popular, every Marvel movie after that point had to have that kind of camp and just these comedy segments where they'll have a very dramatic portion or a very dramatic scene, but then they will just absolutely just make it fall on its face by adding something like unnecessarily funny at the end of it. And that's just how I feel. I know there's a lot of people out there that actually like that kind of formula, Sam, and you're gonna be out here to try and champion for those people.
Okay, aside from the shitstorm that is surrounding Josh Whedon right now and solely focusing on the Avengers movie itself, no, oh my gosh, the Avengers movie had so much writing on it. It was the culmination of Phase One. So I mean, like every like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, the Edward Norton Hulk film, they were all building toward the Avengers, and I feel like if the Avengers had sunk or had stunk, it would have hurt the MCU worse than if like the first Iron Man movie had stumbled out of the gates. It made Loki such a fascinating and fun and awesome and great villain. And no, I disagree. It balanced some drama with some humor perfectly. You had Hawkeye and Black Widow playing really well off of each other. You got to see Tony butt heads with Steve. Like there's that great line, where like Tony like says to Steve like something along the lines of like like I can't believe my father used to like talk about you like so highly like you were some great hero. Um, you had some sad moments there where like Loki killed Agent Coulson, and but then you had some amazing action set pieces like the Battle of New York, and you had that that beautiful all-defying shot where like the camera circles around the Avengers and like Black Widow's loading her pistols and Thor is spinning his hammer and the Hulk is roaring. To
Oh
say
my god. Now they have one of those in every freaking movie, man. Oh
yes,
man.
because it's iconic. That was an iconic shot that really amped up the crowd. I mean, I got to go to like an early press junket screening because a buddy of mine worked at the radios at a radio station at that time.
Oh, nice.
And that part where Bruce Banner's like, "That's my secret. I'm always angry," and he hulks out and punches that giant space worm or space dragon right in the face, and it falls to the ground. People got up and screamed their heads off in excitement and were clapping. I've never seen people give a film a standing ovation before the film was over. Like people lost their shit over this, and they had to hit it out of the park with this one, or it could have sunk the MCU. So no, Josh Whedon didn't ruin it. He helped establish it. He helped make it partly what it is today. Because like you said, every film now kind of has one of those slow motion, like let's spin around our heroes, iconic shots.
Man.
So no, Josh Whedon helped grow the MCU. He did not ruin the MCU. Wow, that one that one was a doozy to argue for. All right, man, here you go, Alex. The Fantastic Four are boring. Disagree. Family dynamics, family dynamics, and family drama can be great. We have dozens of TV shows and movies that show how funny and how great and how heart wrenching the family dynamic can be. That's all the Fantastic Four really is boiled down. It is a great story about family with superpowers. Just nobody has really seemed to crack that formula very well. And they have some great iconic villains, especially, Doctor Doom, or I know people are gonna laugh at me for this one, but I always liked the Mole Man as a as a as a Fantastic Four villain. So no. Do I believe that the Fantastic Four are boring? Hell no. Do I think that, just the right director, the right script hasn't come together? Possibly, yes. Did I really actually like the 2005 Fantastic Four film with Chris Evans? Yes, I did. I thought,
Oh,
I thought that would have been
yeah.
like a good launching point. Like there was hope there to like really build that into something bigger and better. And of course, it crashed and burned with the
Oh,
2007
whatever.
Rise of the Silver Surfer, where you made Galactus, excuse me, a giant dust cloud. Sorry, I almost just threw up in my mouth a little bit right there. But no, the Fantastic Four can work. They're not boring. They're fun. They're awesome. There is so much possibility there that just is untapped potential. That's what I'm going to call it. There is so much untapped potential there, and all we're waiting for is the right director and the right script writer who understand drama, family dynamics, and action, and you would have one hell of a Fantastic Four movie. Alex proved me wrong.
Oh man, you like half of your argument was against your own argument. Um, of course, the Fantastic Four are super boring. The only thing that is good about them is Doctor Doom. I mean, other than the movies were, I mean, even for them being of that time, even going to the movie theater at that time, man, that you didn't get. I didn't come away from that either of those movies just being like, oh wow, that was so awesome. Do you remember that part where Mr. Fantastic, did this or the Invisible Woman did that? It's just, I mean, the only one who has powers that are any good is a Human Torch.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
you
I
know,
always wanted to be the Human Torch.
like that's who everybody wanted to be. You could fly, you could, and you're basically on fire the whole time. But anybody else in the Fantastic Four is just super boring, and it even goes that's not just for the. I mean, we're not even talking with the MCU or Marvel, adjacent movies or anything like that, guys. I mean, even in the comic books, they're pretty boring, and you're right. Their villains are the most like the best part of their storylines. Whether it's taking on intergalactic threats like Annihilus or Galactus, Eternity, those kinds of interdimensional type of threats, or even your closer. Doctor Doom is one of the greatest villains ever in any, like, forget Marvel, forget like comics, like ever thought up. Doctor Doom is one of the best. To me, he's like right underneath Vader probably, but um, I, it's just so easy to argue this. Man, like all you got to do is just watch the movies and be like, oh yeah, yeah, they are pretty boring. And even when they try to reboot it, I mean, you have somebody like Michael B. Jordan in your movie, and they still can't get it to to kind of get it off of the runway. And you think about it, that last Fantastic Four movie that came out, I can't remember when did it. I think I have the list right here. When was it? I think it was.
You
Ah,
mean
shit. I don't.
Fan Four Stick, which came out in 2015?
That's it. Fan four. Yes, fan. Fan four stick. even that movie, the best part of that movie was when Doctor Doom was walking through that hallway and just making all those soldiers' heads explode, and you just got to see him be like get his Vader on, and even though he didn't look like a crash test dummy, it was kind of cool to watch his powers. But um, yeah, the Fantastic Four, they're just boring, ladies and gentlemen. And I know that they're going to be coming out with something in the MCU, and you know I'm with you, Sam. I hope that they have something with the family dynamic and all that bullshit. But I just don't. I don't know. Don't try to relate to me in my family. Like the Incredibles did it better. I'll tell you that much right there, and that's basically that's where my argument lands right there. The Incredibles did it better. Um, let's see. For my second agree or disagree, I will pick. Infinity War was better than Endgame. I will disagree with this one. Um, Infinity War was fantastic. It was there was actual stakes in that. You know, going back and watching it now, like all the stakes are gone because you've seen Endgame. But I can remember at the end of Infinity War, you could hear a pin drop. That's how silent the movie theater was as they watched everybody. You know, the snapped and the saved, and you didn't know who was going to be what. If you were lucky enough to not have it spoiled for you. That being said, and this goes back to what you were talking about the very first Avengers. Like going to see Endgame in theaters midnight Thursday night. I will remember that for the rest of my life. Every time I watch Endgame, and you see the parts where it has some of the most iconic moments in cinema history, let alone Marvel cinema history. You have on your left. You have when Captain America picked up Mjolnir, um, and you have the time travel aspects. You have Tony and Steve burying the hatchet. All those things, they came together, and that crowd at the movies, that was electric. Getting those tickets for that time was so difficult, and I was so happy to get a pair and to go watch it and to be there with that crowd and feel all that emotion, and the air was just absolutely just so tense at the part when everybody came back. That is a moment I will remember for the rest of my life. So Sam, good luck arguing against that.
All right. Infinity War was better than Endgame, and you want to know why? Because it's the Empire Strikes Back of the Marvel films. It ends on a sad down note, but everybody remembers Infinity War. You had that awesome battle in Wakanda. Thor shows up just in time, and you think everything is going to be okay because Thor's there with Rocket and Groot, and man, they are annihilating Thanos' forces. Let me see. You had that brilliant beginning where we almost lose Vision in the beginning to the acolytes of Thanos, man, because like he almost gets that gem like ripped out of his head in like the first 20 minutes, but Captain America shows up with Black Widow and kicks ass. You wouldn't
I
have
will say
in
that was one of the best parts of the MCU as well. When Captain America comes out of the shadows, that was
yes.
that's point Sam right there.
Thank you, sir. You wouldn't even have in-game. Infinity War is what brought everyone together, and you thought, oh yes, maybe, just maybe they're gonna beat Thanos back there, and then all of a sudden you get that infamous line, "You should have gone for the head." um, or you should have, yeah, you should have gone for the head. And he pulls off that snap, and you start seeing everyone getting dusted. And oh my gosh, you get that brilliant scene between Peter Parker and Iron Man where he's like, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark, I don't want to go. And you see all this pain and guilt and pain in Tony's face because he never never wanted Spider-Man to come along in the first place, and he feels so heavily responsible for this kid and his well-being. Plus, you got that epic battle where Thanos threw a moon at Iron Man. I mean, just so many great action pieces in this film. You got to watch Thor take the heat of a dying star while he was trying to make Stormbreaker, and you got to see Groot, help make Stormbreaker. There's just so much in this film that is just amazing. So no, of course Infinity War was better. Like I said, it's the Empire Strikes Back of the Marvel movies. And that is why Infinity War is better than Endgame.
Oh, nice. So
All
I think
right.
this segment is running a little bit long, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna select one
Yeah,
last
one more,
agree or
one more.
disagree each.
Yep. All right, Alex, for my final one, Doom would have been a better fit to lead the Avengers against Thanos. Disagree, disagree, disagree.
Oh no!
Here we go. Doom has what I like to call too much ruthless aggression. Doom would have seen the battle against Thanos not as like a compassionate human being should. He would have judged it dispassionately, like he was playing chess with somebody. So it wouldn't have mattered if Peter Parker died. It wouldn't have mattered if Captain Marvel died. It wouldn't matter if the Avengers were all dead and he was the only man left on the battlefield. He would have sacrificed everybody to get his hands on the Infinity Gauntlet and then kill Thanos. And then he could have reshaped reality as he saw fit. And he could have been the ruler of the galaxy, a ruler of Earth. And you would have been living under the rule of Doom. Doom doesn't have the compassion or the humanity to lead the Avengers against Thanos, and he would have been a fucking terrible person to try to win that fight. That is why Doom would have been a fucking terrible fit to lead the Avengers against Thanos. Alex, I dare you to prove me wrong.
Okay, you gotta fight fire with fire, man. And you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs.
Oh my
And
gosh.
Doom is the chef that's gonna do it, man. I mean, so you lose a Spider-Man, so you lose, a Bucky here and there. I I think that Doctor Doom would have been he would have been the ruthless kind of anti-hero that we needed in order to beat Thanos from, you know, it's just something that I don't think we would have even had an end game if we had Doctor Doom in the first in Infinity War, because the Doom bots. He's got an army of Doom bots. He has this technology in Latveria is out of this world. I can promise you, as much trouble as Thanos had trying to get into Wakanda, it would have been even worse for him to get into Latveria.
There
So,
you, yeah.
but yeah, that to me, that's why Doom I think would have been a better fit to lead the Avengers against Thanos, because he is just the right amount of ruthless, and he knows what it takes. He knows the sacrifices that he would have had to have made in order to be triumphant against Thanos. So, with my final pick, oh, these are all so good. All these ones are left. I think I will go with Terrence Howard was a better War Machine than Don Cheadle, and I am going to agree with this because after Don Cheadle took over, it's kind of like Colonel James Rhodey. This is a man who is a very decorated, pilot in the Air Force, or in the Armed Forces at least. I don't remember what branch he's from. I would have to guess the Air Force. And this was a man who, in the first Iron Man movie, he was kind of like Tony's equal. He was the one that would keep Tony in check And ever since they replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle, he became like just basically Tony's yes man, Tony's sidekick. And you know what? That is kind of what War Machine was in the comics, but Rhodey was not. You know, Rhodey was kind of his friend, his confidant, his equal, and I felt like Terrence Howard did a better job of showcasing that than Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle just kind of came in. You know, Don Cheadle, fantastic actor. I do like his portrayal of Rhodey as the movies got, um, as he was played in more movies. I think that he will kind of knock it out of the park during the what is it, Armor Wars that's supposed to be coming along. Um, but it took a while for him to get there. It took a while for him to get that confidence, and I felt like Terrence Howard had that right off the bat. And you know, do I wish that maybe, you know, I like the way that it turned out, but I think I would have been more interested to see Terrence Howard stay as James Rhodey. But unfortunately, you know, money talks, and Terrence walked. So, Sam, good luck trying to argue against this one.
Traffic, Crash, Ocean's 11, Hotel Rwanda, Iron Man 2. What do all these things have in common? Don Cheadle. Don Cheadle is a phenomenal actor. He filled the role of Rhodey so well. You know, he was critical of Tony when he needed to be critical of Tony. He could laugh and joke with Tony when it was time to laugh and joke. I believed their dynamic. I believed they were friends. I believed that they had a great history together. And that was all Don Cheadle. The man is
Don
a gen.
fucking Cheadle.
Don fucking Cheadle. Yes. No, I mean, it all starts in Iron Man 2. Granted, a little bit of a weaker Iron Man film. But I mean, like, when, you know, he shows up to, you know, testify with Tony in front of Congress. You see it there. You see him fighting Tony in that film, like when he thinks Tony's doing wrong, and he takes one of Tony's suits. And then you kind of get like a little humorous moment between them at the end after they get done defeating Whiplash, and they're both, you know, lying on their backs, just cracking jokes with each other. I mean, like, this is what Rhodey is in the comic book. So, I mean, yes, he's a little bit of a sidekick to Tony, but he's also his equal in many, many ways. And yeah, sometimes he jokes with him, sometimes he disagrees with him, and sometimes when he doesn't think Tony's doing the right thing, he'll totally go against what Tony wants. And Don Cheadle, I mean, like, I totally believed that he really was filling those shoes, and I thought that, like I said, I thought he had a great dynamic with Robert Downey Jr. I mean, you want to see this dynamic fulfilled? Go watch Civil War when Vision misfires and paralyzes Don Cheadle, and just, I mean, just the fear of him falling out of the sky, and Robert Downey Jr. rushing to save him, you know, and at the end you have to like see him like walking with like a, you know, kind of back brace that like is allowing him to walk and everything. I mean, no, Don Cheadle did this role so well, and just go watch Iron Man 2 and go watch Iron Man 3. Granted, like I said, lesser Iron Man films, but just gave more room for Don motherfucking Cheadle.
You know, Iron Man 1 is the best one.
No, just gave more room for motherfucking Don Cheadle to shine. Did you know he got nominated for an Emmy for being in Falcon and the Winter Soldier for 2 minutes?
Yeah.
He had 2 minutes of on-screen time, and they gave him. They're nominating him for an Emmy.
He was just as bewildered as I am.
That's how awesome he is at playing War Machine. 2 minutes on screen, and they already want to give him an award. That alone should speak for itself. That and the fact that I am really looking forward to his portrayal in the upcoming series. I think he's going to knock it out of the park. Like I said, Don Cheadle's just a phenomenal actor, and you couldn't have asked for a better actor to come step into those huge shoes that had to be filled. Because yes, Terrence Howard, I will give credit. Terrence Howard rocked it as Rhodey in the first Iron Man film, but Don Cheadle did amazing following in his footsteps in all the other MCU films. Just go watch him, man. I mean, he truly portrays that character so well that you. And once again, no disrespect to Terrence Howard, but by the time Civil War rolled around and Endgame and Infinity War, I was like, Terrence who? No, man, Don Cheadle is
Oh God.
ruling this role. I mean, like he fits all the characteristics of Rhodey from the comic book perfectly.
Oh, hashtag not my roadie.
But hey, if you would like us here at My Comic Life to cover the contested statements from a specific comic brand or a comic adjacent industry, please leave your suggestions in the comments below on this show. Alex, just real quick here, wrapping up. What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you playing these days? Let the listeners know.
Okay. What am I watching? Is there anything new that I'm kind of watching? No, not really. I think I'm just kind of waiting for What If to start up. I have watched Black Widow like 3 times. I thought it was really good, so that's probably what I'm watching. What am I reading? I have a few comic books that I've been getting, monthly. Thor, Beta Ray Bill. Those are really good books. That new Eternals book that's out. A matter of fact, I had to call my local comic shop and ask them because Moon Knight had just had a reboot, just like last week. So they released #1. I think it sold out almost everywhere. So I know you're a huge Moon Knight fan. Maybe you give a call to your local comic shop, see if they can put one to the side for you. But I think that's what I'm reading is that new Moon Knight series that came out last week. What am I playing? Like I said earlier, I mean it's just Call of Duty. I mean that's kind of what I do. Just give me the gun and show me who I'm supposed to be shooting at. But Sam, I posed the same question to you before we wrap this show up today. What are you watching? What are you reading? And what are you playing?
What am I watching? I'm currently watching DC's Titans. A good buddy of mine, Brian, said give it another shot. I think you'll like it, and he was right. This is my third go around with this show, and I've gotten really far into it. And I am thoroughly enjoying it and kind of seeing it in a new light. So watching DC Titans, also checked out the first 5 episodes of the Kevin Smith Masters of the Universe series. That one was pretty fun and brought me back to the 80s again. So yeah. What am I reading? I'm currently reading Ready Player 2, the follow-up to Ready Player 1, and also James Gunn recently stated in an interview that the new 52 Suicide Squad really inspired what is going to be his current Suicide Squad film. So I went and ordered the trade paperback volume 1 of the new 52 Suicide Squad, and I'm currently reading that. What are you playing? I'm currently playing the Mass Effect HD remake. I missed out on Mass Effect the first time around, so glad that they or not did an HD remake, but did an HD version of these games. They're a blast. I'm kicking myself for missing them first time around. I'm having so much fun gallivanting across the galaxy with my crew of misfits. So
Gallivanting, huh?
yes, gallivanting across the galaxy. So yes, that's what I'm watching. That's what I'm reading. That's what I'm playing. But hey, folks, this wraps up another awesome, fantastic episode of My Comic Life. As always, shout out to our My Comic Life fan of the week, Larry Wilson from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Was not expecting to have a fan in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, but yes. Larry Wilson of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Sir, we thank you for liking our Facebook page and subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're still at 13 followers on YouTube. Come on, people. Get us over that hump. Be our 14th like, our 15th like, our 16th like. But yeah, no. Larry Wilson, sir, we salute you. You are our My Comic Life fan of the week. Salute to you, Larry.
Salute to you, Mr. Wilson. We appreciate you tuning in, and we love you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you. Yeah, folks. So please continue to like our Facebook page. That's just Google or just search My Comic Life on Facebook and look for that oh so fabulous, oh so brilliant, oh so awesome My Comic Life logo, and just click that like button. That really does help grow the show. And yes, please continue to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We drop our episodes there every week. Mainly on Fridays, but sometimes on Saturdays. But yeah, you can catch new episodes on YouTube or on our Facebook page. But yes, please continue to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That really helps grow the show. And yeah, if you have any more show ideas, like if you want to hear us, debate about Star Wars more, or agree or disagree with Star Wars or DC comic stuff, email us. Email us your show ideas at realmycomiclife@gmail.com. Again, that email address is realmycomiclife@gmail.com. But until next week, folks, ditch the herd, be a nerd, stay strong out there, my friends.